Beauty starts within, and I think that, people may say this so cliche, but it really does. Like, if you have this self-confidence, it's going to show on the outside. So what we do in aesthetics, we just help the inside come out. So if we make you feel better on the inside, even though we're working on the outside, it's working on you, making you feel better. So.
Welcome to the Beauty Talk podcast, where we feature how the best medical practitioners help their patients to look better, younger, and healthier. Now, enjoy the show, and here's your host.
Daniel Gao here. I'm the host of Beauty Talk. We feature the top medical practitioners in health and beauty, both inside and out. I have Sharonda Walton, a board-certified adult nurse practitioner and medical aesthetics educator. As a Memphis native, Sharonda was moved by the lack of representation in medical aesthetics in the Mid-South. This led her to open Royalty Wellness Spa, a boutique medical spa in Memphis, Tennessee in 2018. Understanding the importance of having well-trained and knowledgeable cosmetic injectors, Sharonda finds joy in providing beginner injector certification training for medical professionals nationwide through Med Aesthetics training. She is an AmSpa 2025 Distinguished Women in Medical Aesthetics awardee and has contributed to multiple articles and forums educating women and men on anti-aging and wellness therapies. So, Sharonda, welcome and glad to have you here.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Yeah, so Sharonda, let's start out at the very beginning. How did you first get interested in the medical field?
So I actually was going to school. I thought I wanted to be a pediatrician, but when I started getting ready for the MCAT and all of that, I was like, I don't think this is for me. So my sister was actually finishing up nursing school. And so she was like, why don't you go into nursing and then you can become a nurse practitioner. And so that's what I did. And I'm really glad I did because I love just the different areas you can go into as a nurse. So that's how I kind of got into it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then how did you transfer or transition into the aesthetics industry?
So most of my career has been in the emergency room, emergency medicine. And so I've always loved that as far as like doing the suturing and INDs, things like that, doing the different treatments. And so one of my colleagues was getting ready to take an injector's course. And so she was like, Sharonda, why don't you do this? You're really good with your hands and I'm kind of creative. And so I took the class, and ever since then, I fell in love with aesthetics. I have just been continued to do different courses to just get better in my craft, and so I love it.
Okay. Now, I want to dive a little bit deeper into what led you to starting your own practice. I know based on your introduction, you opened up in 2018, but what was that journey leading up to that point where you decided you wanted to have your own practice?
So after I took the injection course, of course, there's a 2-day course, so you don't really get a lot of experience. And so when I came back to Memphis, I took a course in Dallas. And so when I came back to Memphis, it was very hard trying to find just a place to work where I could start getting some more experience. I did have one doctor that allowed me to come in and do some shadowing, but he wasn't hiring at the time. So I did do some shadowing with his PA who did most of his injections and things for him. And so that helped some, but it was just, I kind of just had to step out on my own and make it happen for myself. So I started off just injecting friends and family, kind of with word of mouth, and it kind of grew from there. But I knew it was something that I wanted to do. I enjoyed it. And I was like, if I wanted to make it happen, I had to make the opportunity happen for me. So.
Okay. Well, now you're here 8 years later.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So now that you have just practiced, I want to dive deeper into some of the treatments that you provide to your clients and to your patients. I want to start with the full face rejuvenation. So could you describe what is a full face rejuvenation? People just are not sure what it is, or maybe have heard different terminology of it. How would you define it?
So a lot of people may call it facial balancing, but I call it facial rejuvenation because usually for us, it may entail doing Botox, fillers, PRP, PDO threads. So it's not just doing filler to, enhance one area. We're actually doing things to help the integrity of the skin. So, we may do some PRP injections as well as filler injections, also with some talc to smooth out some lines. So I like to call it more facial rejuvenation. And so that's usually what most people need. Most of the time is not just a one treatment thing that people need to rejuvenate their face and make them look more youthful. So I like to call it facial rejuvenation.
Okay. And you mentioned
Mhm.
that within that facial rejuvenation, you were doing not only just Botox and filler, but also PRP and PDO thread. So I want to
Mhm.
break those down a little bit more. What is PRP?
So PRP is platelet-rich plasma, and so it is the part of your blood that helps with tissue regeneration. It also helps build collagen and elastin. It helps create new blood flow to the area. And so it's been used for many years in the orthopedic realm and the wound care area of medicine. And so in cosmetics, we like to use it. We use it sometimes with microneedling, what some people call the vampire facial,
Hmm.
but we also can inject it. And so we may inject it in its normal state, which is usually a watery consistency. And then sometimes I do what we call derma PRP. And so we take the platelet pore part of the plasma and we heat it and cool it to where it thickens up to the consistency of a filler. And then we mix it with the platelet-rich plasma, and that's the part usually at the bottom of the tube that has the most platelets in it. And so then we take that and we can actually inject it like filler where it will create some volume and have longer lasting results. And
Mm.
so I like using the PRP. Like I said, it helps with just even the skin tone, help with tissue regeneration, helps build collagen, elastin. And so it's one of my favorite treatments to do, especially for like the under eye area for hyperpigmentation. And like I said, we're doing with microneedling to help even the skin tone, things like that.
Okay. So you mentioned that it can act kind of like filler where it gives the volume, but also does a lot more than that as
Mhm.
well. So, I mean, I guess, what's the main difference between filler and PRP?
So with hyaluronic acid filler is an actual gel. And so it does give you replaces volume that you may have lost in your face or enhance areas of your face. But once again, it is a gel. And so it's not going to really give that tissue regeneration that you need or help stimulate much collagen or elastin like your PRP would. Now, your PRP can do those things, but because your body is going to use it and break it down way faster than filler, it may
Mm.
not last as long as filler. So, like I said, sometimes we'll use a combination of both to make sure you have the best results. So we may do some filler in your cheek area or your jawline area where we're trying to build a little more structure and then come back and do maybe derma PRP under your eyes or in your smile line, somewhere where we're trying to strengthen the tissue in the area.
Okay. So then um with the fillers and then also with the regenerative medicine side of it, I guess really the regenerative medicine side, is it you're taking their blood and then basically
Mhm.
spitting it and pulling the good stuff out of it.
Right.
Now, my understanding is that if the individual maybe is older or maybe they're a little bit unhealthy, their blood may not be as good. So are there options as far as getting someone else's blood or using something that's like synthetic, or is it kind of the gold standard that you always use your own blood no matter what?
Well, if it is someone who is maybe older, rare, or they may have more, more diseases or something like
Mhm.
that. Then we can use some other regenerative treatments, or we can use some biostimulators. I love Sculptra,
Mhm.
as well as Radiesse. So they may be more of an option for a person like that to use one of those, where those biostimulating treatments will stimulate collagen and elastin in the body. So we also may use exosomes, and so exosomes can kind of act like PRP as
Mhm.
well, where it stimulates tissue regeneration.
Okay. What's the main
Mhm.
difference between the PRP and the exosomes?
So the exosomes that we use, they're a plant-derived exosome.
Mhm.
So they actually come from plants. And so we with your some exosomes do come from other platelets and things like that. But we actually use a plant-derived
Mhm.
exosome.
Got it. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So I think we covered the regenerative medicine side pretty well then. Now I want to go over into the PDO threads. For people who
Mhm.
have never heard of PDO threads or don't know what it is, how would you describe it?
So I tell people PDO threads are kind of like dissolvable stitches. The polydioxanone is what they're made of. And so this also stimulates, it kind of causes an inflammatory response under your skin. And then that makes your body want to create new tissues, like it's healing pretty much. And so it's another tissue regenerative kind of treatment. And so there's two different kinds. You have smooth threads, which you can just stick in and they'll just help stimulate collagen and elastin and things like that. And then you also have the lifting threads, which actually do create a lift. And so they go up under the tissue and they have little cuts in them where the tissue kind of attaches to it and gives a slight, nice little lift to the skin. And
Mhm.
so it usually takes about 2 or 3 months for those threads to dissolve. But as they're dissolving, like I said, they're creating that collagen, they're creating that elastin, they're creating new tissue in that area.
Okay. Now, PDO
Mhm.
threads, my understanding is that they're almost kind of like a mini facelift in a sense. Would you say that that's kind of accurate?
Yeah, yes, I would say a mini facelift. I tell people, it's not you're not gonna get facelift results, but you can get close to it, just
Mhm.
depending on how much lift is needed.
Okay.
Sometimes I may, like I said, add a little filler if they've had some loss of volume as well. But we can get kind of close to a facelift.
Okay. Now, my understanding is also it's not invasive, so they don't need to be put to sleep or anything like that. And the recovery is not anything crazy like you would with a traditional facelift. Is that correct?
Correct, yes. So you may have a little swelling, nothing just crazy, but you may have a little swelling, a little soreness, but most people are able to, go back to work the next day, with no issues from it.
Mhm. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, now when it comes to these treatments, what would you? I'm sure you get a lot of patients coming in and they have different beliefs or believe different myths about these treatments. What would you say are some of the most common myths or misconceptions you hear when it comes to these types of treatments?
I think a lot of times people see, I'll say maybe celebrities on social media or on TV that have maybe been overdone.
Mm,
So they may think, we talk about their treatment plan and I may say, we'll do 3 syringes of filler or and, or 40 units of tox to, get this result. And in their mind, they're automatically thinking, oh, 3 syringes of filler, I'm gonna look like this
mm,
person over here,
mm,
So usually it takes quite a bit of educating and that's why it's good to have like before and afters where people can see what 3 syringes of filler, would look like.
mm,
And so I also have like a little chart with a teaspoon on it that shows like how much one syringe actually is, how much syringes actually look like on a teaspoon.
mm,
So yeah, most of the time they're thinking they're gonna not look like themselves.
Okay, good to know.
hmm
Now, Sharonda, let's say that someone is looking to get some type of facial balancing, facial rejuvenation done, but they don't know which provider to go to. What advice would you give to this person so that they can do their search and find someone that they trust, is experienced, is knowledgeable, and can get the results they're looking for?
Well, I would tell them for sure, make sure that they are licensed to do injections in whatever state that they're in, because in most states you have to be at least a registered nurse to be doing injections.
Mm,
So they have to be a licensed provider. And then, as I tell some of my students in class when they're taking like the beginner courses, I tell them, don't let this be your last course that you do. Don't, this is your first course. You're going to have continued learning because things are always changing in the industry. You want to make sure that you are providing the best care for your patients. So I tell clients, make sure that they're a provider that's continuing to learn and better themselves as well. So, make sure that they are showing that they're going to these different trainings and that they have these different certifications before you go to them for treatments, or ask them when you do go for those treatments. Ask them how many have they done. So that's what I usually tell them.
Okay. Now, as far as
Mhm.
the licensing part, how can someone easily check up, are they properly licensed or not?
Well, you can go to like on your state licensing page, and if they are a licensed registered nurse practitioner, PA, doctor, then you should be able to look them up on there.
Okay,
Mhm.
good to know. Now, when it comes to quality of product, is that something that people should be concerned about or aware of, or is that largely not an issue, like them getting knockoff products or products from like Temu or something, not the real stuff?
Oh, it's a big problem.
Mm,
It's a big problem. And yes, they for sure need to make sure that they're using FDA approved products.
mm,
Because of course, Europe, Korea, they have their products as well, but we want to make sure that they're FDA approved for the United States. Because if not, then it's considered a legal product.
mm,
And if something goes wrong, we want to be able to, follow the right path to correct it. And you can't do that if you're using something and you don't even know, what the label on the box says, because it's in a
mhm.
different language.
Yeah.
So definitely want to make sure that you're using FDA approved products on your clients.
Okay.
Mm.
Now, when it comes to what you do, Sharonda, how important do you think creativity plays a role in what you do?
Oh, it definitely does. Especially like with filler. I tell my students, like, this is when the kind of the art side of aesthetics comes
Mhm,
in. Because usually with tox, you're dosing, you're injecting, you want to know your anatomy. And even with fillers, you want to know your anatomy, but you also want to make sure you are contouring things, correctly, evenly. Um, Seeing where they may have some asymmetries and where you may correct a little more on one side than the other. So I think you do have to have some kind of creative side, some kind of artsy side to
mhm,
your personality to work in
mhm.
aesthetic.
Okay, so having that artistic eye is going to be pretty critical for what you do.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Have you seen situations where someone maybe doesn't have the artistic eye, but they're very good technically, compared to someone that maybe wasn't as good technically, but had a really good artistic eye, and like how you would compare those two situations?
Yes, I have had a couple of people like that. And I'd say for someone like that, they may do better, with doing more of like functional medicine, where they
Mhm,
can, work with peptides, hormones, things like that. They may enjoy that better than doing more of the, injectables and
mhm.
things like that.
Okay. Now, Sharonda, I'm sure that throughout your experience, you've had some memorable cases or maybe even challenging cases you've had to work on. Is there maybe one story that you can share of one of those cases and how you were ultimately able to get them a great result in the end?
I would say it's not so much challenging. I had a very rewarding, I'll say,
Mhm,
that case
mhm,
not too long ago. Recently, she actually still is coming for treatments, but one of my patients, she started coming to me back in the summer, and so she really hadn't been taking care of her skin. She had more so been, worried about her son, and he finally graduated, and so she wanted to start really taking care of herself. And so she had like some hormonal acne going on, loss of volume in her face, and so she just wanted to do a full kind of revamp on everything. And so we started with skincare. She was doing her skincare routine regimen, started that. We did some sessions of micro needling. We did some PRP, some tox, because she kind of had a recessed chin. And so some of the facial balancing with some fillers. We did some PRP. And so recently she came back. We were doing another session of micro needling, and my social media person was here. And so my social media was, complimenting her on her skin and things. And so she pulled out a before picture of, what she looked like before, and then how she's looking now. And she was like, "Oh, what all did you do?" My social media person. And so it was she just started, telling everything that she had been doing and how it has helped her, like how the micro needling was helping with her skin texture and all that. And so it was just kind of rewarding to see, like, oh, she's actually listened to to what the treatments were doing, and she knows how the treatments have been helping her. So I was like, okay, they actually do listen sometimes.
Sometimes, only sometimes.
But she was able to explain like everything to my social media person, and she's just been so happy with her results, her confidence. Like she was recently divorced, so she's back dating and just all of this. So it's just been good to see her journey, just in her self-confidence.
Okay, that's a wonderful story to share. Great story. Now, Sharonda, where do you think the future of aesthetics is going?
Well, I know right now, like the big thing is more preventative care, preventative medicine. Like I said, with the more functional medicine, it's becoming very big. Having a better lifestyle, I'll say. So using peptides and hormone therapy, I see that trending a lot this year. So I think more people are trying to be preventative with their care. So I think it's more so going that way.
Okay. And with that in mind, what's your vision for your practice, Royalty Wellness Spa?
So I actually, this one way I am leading, I would love to bring in another nurse practitioner. I'm actually working on that. They could actually more so work on the wellness side of things, our weight loss program, our wellness things. I want to bring in more peptides, things like that. And so I'm working on moving towards that, as well as bringing in another injector. So I'm just wanting to grow, but I still want to keep it. Our thing is we're very intimate, so I still want to keep it a small, intimate practice where when our clients come in, they know who we are just from seeing us on our social media pages, and they feel comfortable coming in.
Okay. Well, Sharonda, I have one last question for you, but before I ask it, I do want to point people to your website at royaltywellnessspa.com. Now, last question for you. What does beauty mean to you?
Beauty to me is how you feel about yourself. If you feel confident in yourself, how you view other people will show. If you're not feeling comfortable with yourself, if you're not confident in yourself, then sometimes you may tend to project that on others. So beauty starts within, and I think that, people may say that's so cliche, but it really does. Like, if you have that self-confidence, it's going to show on the outside. So what we do in aesthetics, we just help the inside come out. So if we make you feel better on the inside, even though we're working on the outside, it's working on you, making you feel better. So, yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Well, there you have it. Sharonda sharing her expertise. So, Sharonda, where can people contact you in your practice?
So they can reach us. Our phone number is 901-410-8905. They can also reach us on Instagram, royalty_wellness spa, and TikTok, we are royalty_wellness_spa. And we also are on Facebook, Royalty Wellness Spa on Facebook.
Awesome. Well, Sharonda, this was great. Thank you for coming on, and thank you for sharing your message.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Beauty Talk podcast. Any questions, please contact the practice directly with the contact information provided during the show. We'll see you again next time. Bye for now.